G'day coppers, welcome back to the bush. In this episode of Lockyup's 4-wheel driving, we're going to test fridge covers in hot weather. That's right, 30 plus degrees Celsius. Do they work in the back of a ute or maybe even the back of a 4-wheel drive? We've dragged out the temperature data logger and we're going to sort it out once and for all. So let's get into it. So we've already tested out transit bags for use in the back of your 4-wheel drive in overnight temperatures in a previous episode of Lockyup's 4-wheel driving. And if you haven't seen that, click the card above and you can watch that before you watch this one. But this is a very different episode. This is the viewer requested video. So back of your 4-wheel drive, back of your ute, in high ambient temperatures, 30 plus degrees Celsius. And this is how we test it. So we used a step-up converter, feeding a consistent 14 volts to the Engel from the very start of the test to the very end of the test in every single test, because you want to eliminate those variables. And in the freezer section, 10 litres of water with a thermocouple probe sitting at about minus 15 to minus 18 degrees Celsius. And in the fridge section, we had 20 litres of refrigerated water sitting at about 1 degree Celsius. And we used the data logger to log the data. We also checked out the ambient temperature and also the ambient temperature in the back of the 4-wheel drive versus outside, so you'll be able to see exactly how hot it gets in the back of your 4-wheel drive all locked up on a hot day, and you might be surprised at those results. Speaking of which, let's check out the results for the back of your 4-wheel drive. And here we have it, ladies and gents. Cover versus no cover in the back of your 4-wheel drive. Now on the left hand side we have the temperature in degrees Celsius ranging from negative 20 right through to positive 5 degrees, and along the bottom 6 a.m. right through to 6 p.m, so a full 12 hours on each of the tests. Now our ambient peaked at 36 degrees Celsius on both testing days, and the interior temperature peaked at a massive 57 degrees, and that's why you don't leave pets or kids in your car on hot days. Anyway, on with the data. So the freezer is in blue with cover, and the fridge with cover is orange there. So without the cover, how did we go? Well, we did slightly better. So again, just like your overnight temperatures, your fridge overall is doing better without the cover. And the reason being, well, I think that's because it's blocking the ventilation. The mesh on the cover is blocking the ventilation, but we'll look at that later on in the testing. Well, the results were a real eye-opener for me. Firstly, the transit bag, it didn't fare very well. 36 degrees outside, 57 degrees Celsius in the back of the 4-wheel drive. 36 degrees, I believe, is about breakfast time in far north Queensland. 57 degrees Celsius, well, that's never been recorded on God's green earth. Anywhere. That's hot on the marble bar, people. Anyway, back of the 4-wheel drive, it's busted. Transit bag, no good. Back of the ute, however, we were exposed to the sun. That's the test that everyone tells me the transit bag is useful for. So I set it up in the middle of the backyard. It was exposed north, south, east, west, and because we're in the southern hemisphere, rises in the east, sets in the west, it was exposed for the whole duration of the day, 6 a.m. through to 6 p.m. And here are the results. So here we have it. The back of the ute testing cover versus no cover. Now on the left hand side, we've got the temperature in degrees Celsius ranging from negative 25 right through to positive 10. And again, we started at 6 a.m. and we went right through to 6 p.m. on both testing days with an average ambient of 33 degrees Celsius. And here are our results. So the freezer is in blue and the fridge is in orange. That's with no cover. But what about with the cover? So as we can see, when it started to warm up after lunch, that's when the heat's affecting the fridge and it's having to work the hardest. And it didn't perform as well with the cover on. So either in the freezer or in the fridge. Admittedly, we're still around about negative 10, which is pretty good, but under the same conditions and the same temperatures, we've got negative 15 getting on for negative 20 in the same conditions without the cover. And the fridge, of course, it's reaching hysteresis without the cover, but with the cover, it's not able to get rid of that heat that it's producing in the compressor section. So we can't reach that hysteresis with it turning on and off. Not looking good for the cover so far, is it? So that's it, myth busted. So the transit bag in the back of your ute is hampering the performance of your fridge. It's not helping, it's making it worse. It might be providing a little bit of weather protection, a bit of protection from a couple of dents from whatever's floating around the back of your ute, but as far as performance is concerned, it's costing your fridge performance. Myth busted. That's it. That's the final word. But why is it doing that? Is it the ventilation or is it the thermal performance of the cover itself? That's the question I wanted to ask next. So I got myself a pedestal fan and I set it up at the end of the fridge and I ran exactly the same test. Here are the results for that with fan forced. So we got the testing data back up so we can draw a decent comparison. And again, from -25 right through to +10. The grey here is our freezer with cover. Our blue is without the cover. Our fridge here in orange is no cover. And our yellow here is the fridge with cover. Once we put the fan on, let's have a look at the testing data. It's almost back to the non-cover status. So it almost made it as good as it was running without the cover when we got the fan there. That's it. The ventilation, as far as I'm concerned, at this point, unless anyone else wants to prove me otherwise, is the issue. The mesh is stopping the heat from getting away from that compressor section in the condenser. So that's it. When we put a fan on the end, the performance came back. That mesh is hampering the performance of your fridge. It's not allowing the heat to escape as efficiently, and we're not getting as colder temperatures in the fridge. Now, before you take a knife to the mesh, I wanted to do one more test. Is the thermal properties of the cover doing anything at all? Now, the best way I thought about doing it was to get it down to a consistent temperature and then just drop the power and check how long it takes to heat back up to ambient temperatures. And I did it over 24 hours. And here are the results for that. So here we have it, the power off fridge comparison. Just checking the insulating properties of the cover and whether it adds to the efficiency of the fridge. Now again, we got the temperature in degrees Celsius here, ranging from -15 right through to +10. Well, let's have a look at the data. So the orange one is the cover off in the freezer, and the blue one here, that's the cover off with the fridge. Let's bring up cover on. So interestingly, the grey line here is the fridge and the yellow line here is the freezer. And it does actually provide a little bit of an advantage. As we can see here, we're down below the line with the cover off. So it does provide additional insulation to our fridge. It's just a shame it doesn't do it when the fridge is actually running. So the transit bag does actually increase the thermal insulation properties of the fridge. It's just a shame it's not enough to counteract the issue that's caused by the mesh and the ventilation. Anyway, guys, we've come to an end. Transit bag, thumbs up or thumbs down? Well, it's a thumbs down from me. So guys, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a whole thumbs up. And if you didn't, by all means, give it a thumbs down. Not once, not thrice, but twice. Thanks, guys. We'll see you in the next one. So if you've enjoyed this content, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and ring that bell icon. It's really important to us and you won't miss out on our future content. Now, if you want to support the channel, by all means, consider becoming a patron on Patreon and you get things like early access to our videos on YouTube. Either way, we hope to see you out on the tracks.